Hey y'all, it is Moonlight Cowboy, and I am going to cover a kind of an easier build. So I got a challenge the other day from somebody who's kind of followed me for a long time, and they said that Moon, your camps are hard for the normal person to follow, right? So in this tutorial, I'm gonna actually do one that's easier. This took me 6 hours to do, but it's a camouflage camp, meaning that you won't be able to see it from most angles. That's how I interpret a camouflage camp to be. So I found this little kind of this valley area. There's stone to the left or to the right, and then to the left is like soft hill, and then you have the beach. So, from looking at it from the top end, you don't really see much of it, and then coming in at it from the hillside, you don't see much of it. The only part you really see is coming straight at it from the beach part, if you can call it that. This is close to the waterfall over there, the in the new area near the communist camp over there, across from the island where the communist bear lives and has killed me twice. That said, so I'm just laying my foundations down right now, just trying to get them spaced to where I think I can get walls in for underpinnings at a later date. So once I got those in, which I'm still working on, I will say that some of these are kind of hard to get in. There are still, just because this is an easier tutorial, there are still some tricks that are going to be used. So I highly encourage you to check out like my wall tutorial, my roof tutorial, and then this one I can just show you. This is the camp device trick with foundation. So I'm going to grab my camp device here, if I can find it. There it is. And I'm going to put it on the edge of the foundation here because the foundation wouldn't go into that spot. I tried. And rather than fight with it, I can just do that. I'm going to move it on over to here. And this is great for those of you who have been stuck before and can't get your foundation to go through because of the terrain or some pre-existing thing, right? So anyways, we have the foundation down for what I'm going to use for the camp now. Later in the video you'll see that I used full walls there. I didn't think I was going to be able to get through them with the with regular walls because there's a vine there that was giving me a lot of problems. Like I couldn't even snap foundation through there, but for some reason I could get maybe it's just on the other side of it I can get a wall in. So I roofed in this whole thing with the grass roofs. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. You don't have to do this part. I just don't like all the lines in on the, where you can see that there's obviously roofs here. So I like to merge the roofs by doing another layer of offset roofs. And to do that, what I did was I used a catwalk I angled a roof, and then I used a catwalk once I placed a half wall. And then I went a half catwalk away and then reset. You can see the distance here. I destroyed those roofs, and look, when I lay that out, I have a little bit of space there. And what that does is there's like a mound inside of the roof, like a little bit of like a patchy dirt, and that actually hides the lines really, really well. Won't hide all of them, but it'll actually dampen it a lot. And then I can use the new I think they're called the cattails. They're in with like where the rosebush category is, and those are really great too. You can free place them anywhere; they don't have to be on dirt. So I'm going to use a combination of the two to kind of mask the top of this roof here. But as you see, I destroyed all those roofs so I could sneak those other roofs in. I'm also going to do an edge out on these roofs to get them as close to this cliff as possible. The area that I can't use or can't put roofs because of the cliff interfering, I'm probably going to do porches. I like the brand new porches. I think they're called like the House of Tomorrow or something like that. They're really cool. Anyways, I destroyed all the roofs, and then what I'm going to do next is I want to put a layer of like clean ranch roof underneath of these roofs. So I did it the easy way. I'm just lowering the foundation a touch. I'm going to add my walls back, and now I put a roof on there, and then because all the roofs are destroyed above me, I can just snap that in. It's like the really easy way to do it, especially when you're doing a ton of roofs like these. I mean, I've probably got 30 or 40 roofs out there right now, with all the layering I did. So this way I could just do it without having to do anything super fancy. And again, I'm kind of on a time crunch here because I kind of said that I could do a build in 6 hours that would still be really good, but could be fairly easy to follow. Again, you don't have to do the roof like that. I just like to be, extra, I guess. If you have the new cattails, they do a great job of covering them up. They're kind of a large space and they're tall. So I use a ton of them up there as it is later in the build. But anyway, so now we have the clean part underneath done. And I'm pretty pleased with that. So what we'll be doing next is, if you see here, I'm spacing out a foundation to be half a distance away, half a catwalk away or half foundation away. And this way I can get the rest of my roofs in. But because I have these other roofs there, I'm going to have to destroy those. So I'm going to angle those up first. And this will be the last bit of roof I should need. I'm going to angle those up so that way I can hit them with the flamey boy, as TNG calls it. And there we go. Go ahead and turn that on. And I won't be able to reach the other one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a roof to those as well in a moment. But first I want to show you this cool trick. So if you do the corner pieces and then another corner piece and then you flatten them, this is a great way if you ever need to reverse your roofs. It's super easy to reverse your roofs this way. And I decided I wanted to do a reverse on my roofs right there, so that way they're going the opposite direction. And yeah, as you see, I'm adding I'm adding an extra roof over there just so I have a place to put my little Bernie boy or what have you. And that thing is going away. And yeah, and I just tear up the rest of these roofs up real good. There we go. And I don't need to do the whole underneath and clean roofs because a lot of this is not going to be accessible. The stuff that goes up on the hill, I block out because there's no way to really do anything with it. So really, this looks like a big build, but it's actually going to be kind of small, which is good to an extent because then it makes it easier to decorate. Alright, so I've got all my roofs in place, and I'm going to regret this later. I already know because I did this tutorial and I built this thing. But I'm going to repair everything now, which is usually something I don't do. But I wanted to see if I had any missing pieces. I don't. It looks like I do right there. But in reality, that was because they were all lifted up or angled up, so I just go through the process of flattening everything. Again, something I probably could have waited on because I'm going to have to eventually lift those back up for the sake of to have to put walls in. Not a big deal though. Nothing I haven't fixed before. And that was the blood stain of my victim, aka the bear that came by and killed me earlier. So yeah, so in order to get the walls in, because those other roofs are a little low, I had to lift those up. But there's going to come a point in time where I'm going to have to destroy them. And it's going to be because I'm going to need to sneak catwalks in there to get other walls in where I need them. So what I'm doing here is I like to have like an overhang on my roofs, which I think everybody kind of likes. But what I'm also noticing too is that I have an overhang for the front, but I want to do it for the corner too. The nice thing about a build like this is I only have to really wall in like half of it because the other half is taken up by cliff and hillside. So I can do like an easy corner version of this. So to do that, I'm just gonna take my foundation out just a little bit more, so that way it's like a quarter of the way from hitting that roof on each side. In order to do that, I'm going to have to mess with that roof again. But I also need to bring in my my foundation a little bit more, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. All right, there we go. It looks like it's about the right angle, so that way it hangs right in front of there with that corner sticking off of the roof, and the floor will do the same thing. So it's going to be like kind of sink in a little bit. Again, I didn't have to do this, but if you build a little closer to the beach and you hit that little vine over there, you may have to then use that technique. And I have a ton of tutorials on it. Most of my builds that I've been doing lately require the new technique with the oh goodness, the Blue Ridge set. I don't know where my brain's at today. Anyhow, so yeah, as you see, I can't put any walls without moving the roof up. So for now, I can just angle them up, and then I should have no problem attaching a wall to a wall there, like so. There we go. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. All right, there we go. All right, so we've got the beginning stage of our walls. Our roof is completely done, so in all honesty, all we're really going to be working on now is walls. The walls, because we did the roof and the floor first, and the way the roof is set, the walls are probably going to be one of the harder parts to do. On that last set of glass over to the right, I end up double walling this. Double walling is super easy, so I didn't bother putting that in my tutorial, but for now I put it in as glass. So the things that will get complicated here are getting the underpinnings, getting the walls onto the hills, and then getting the interior walls. So first we're going to finish the interior exterior walls. That's the walls that are going to go up the hill. And the cool thing is, because I know that there's water right next to there with the lake and the waterfall, I know that there's going to be a water table under here that I will be able to land on if I can get out. Yeah. So now I don't have to even build a platform down here, which is great. Less on me. Alright, so now I'm just adding my walls. I'm going to show you how to double wall inside, or when you're using catwalks as well. Like, sometimes double walling can be super inconvenient because you don't have foundations in place. You can't get foundations in place or whatever your deal is. So what I'm doing is I placed my wall where it would have normally gone. And then I put a little catwalk out, and I put another wall there. Now I'm going to place two catwalks, two small ones right here. 1 and 2. And then I'm going to add another wall. And what I'm really doing is I'm just getting them set up to reverse the walls in. So I can do a catwalk now, and now I'm going to do a doorway. And I'll do one more. And this is, you have to do it from the bottom with the catwalks. It won't work from the top. But this is a really cool, easy trick if you have to get into like a tight spot like this. Like, I couldn't have done the door version of this trick because there's no any place for me to put the door. So yeah, I was able to get my walls in place. I didn't have to double wall some of them, force of habit, because they'll never be seen from anybody unless they're like in camera mode and they're on my team. So now we're just getting the rest of the exterior walls done. Exterior walls, now that we did like the hard part from underground, those will be easy until we hit the underpinnings. From this point though, I do believe I had already made the switch. No, not yet, for the half glass walls there. You'll see that here soon. It just kicks over. And if you need to know how to do half wall, like, walls like where they're double walled without the catwalks, I have plenty of tutorials on that. It is super duper easy to do. Just two foundations and put two doorways back to back or face to face or what have you. Yeah, it just has to be a certain kind of doorway, like the red brick or the red barn or the new the Blue Ridge. Okay, so this is me destroying these walls, and the reason I'm doing that, and notice I switched those walls up by now, the ones on opposite sides of the glass. The reason I'm doing this is because now I'm going to take my foundations out, because I want there to be the little bit of overhang and I guess underhang. Is that a thing? But you get what I'm saying. They're going to align with the roof line. So you'll have that same effect both top and bottom. And yeah, so I got to get rid of all the other foundations to get that. And I left this one foundation there, but I went ahead and removed everything else. And all I really had to do to get that foundation back was just catwalk off one of those walls and put a foundation down, a quarter length catwalk, and then I had all of my foundations back basically. So now I'm working on the underpinnings. I've said this in other build tutorials before, but make sure if you feel like you're stuck on trying to get a one of your walls in place, sometimes it's not you, sometimes it's the wall itself. You can try different walls to get them to work. So you'll see here in a minute when I go underground to do one last underpinning, and I used a angled wall, and none of the angle walls that I was using was working, so I ended up using, like, I switched it around and I tried a bunch and I found one that did work. The same can be said for regular walls too. So again, something I have said in other videos is that, like, the Helvetia wall is like 1 pixel or so different depth on the surface of the wall, so you can actually get that in, you know, sometimes in a pinch when you wouldn't normally be able to. And then also the red casino walls, those slant walls are amazing because they don't have an upper, like, lip to them. So you can slide those into places. They're like my favorite if I need to get something in that can't normally be done. So I got all my underpinnings on the front here, except for the one by the rock. But I am OCD. Again, this might not be something you have to do. If you're not like me, where you, like, are desperate to make sure that everything's like 100% perfect. So I got my foundation in, but I'm going to get underpinning there, come hell or high water. I also will need to get stairs in too, but that's easy to do. And I'll explain that here in a few minutes. But essentially what I'm going to do to get this underpinning in is I'm going to go from underground to get underneath the rock. So the rock has collision from anywhere from where it touches the surface. As soon as you get underground, it's not going to have collision. I'm first checking though to see if a set of stairs would go there, because that would actually be a perfect spot for a set of stairs. Anywho, so we're just taking a look at this thing. I'm removing that foundation. And then I'm going to go underground because I know the foundation might get in the way of what I'm going to be doing here in a minute. Cool thing is, where I set myself up here, I can actually just swim underneath the foundation because of the water table there. And now I get a different perspective. So remember what I said about the rocks not having collision underground? I can actually snap catwalks through them, whereas normally, you know as well as I do, you could not get them into place. And then I just snap that there. And yeah, so if you notice, I try and use that angled wall, and it wouldn't let me. And I'm going to go from inside here so you can see. I'm trying a different one, and boom, that one worked. That wasn't like my last-ditch effort one, but they all have different lippings on them, so some work better than others. And then I just turn that into the Blue Ridge set, and then I can turn that from the Blue Ridge set here in a second to the half wall. Now, with the Blue Ridge set on the front where I talked about putting those stairs in, all you'd have to do is turn those half walls into Blue Ridge set, destroy them, you know, into the Blue Ridge, I should say the slant wall Blue Ridge ones, destroy them once they're the angled or slant, and then you can just snap a set of stairs to the foundation like you normally could. That's really easy to do. Okay, so now for the kind of the tricky part, and this is the part where I left myself kind of in a bad spot. So, first of all, I decided I wanted to do kind of odd shaped walls, like kind of like not, you know, not really aligning with the build, because since I only have to really do 2 walls worth of build from the exterior side, I can get creative on the other side and kind of make this place look a little bit fancier. But really the true intent is, knowing that I have limited space because of that hill back there and I can't use it, I want to maximize the amount of space I have in here. I still want it to look somewhat big and usable. So I'm using this double vine wall blueprint, and I have a tutorial on walls. I recommend you guys check those out, not just for the sake of like getting a couple extra views on them, but they are actually really helpful. And I use the tutorials that I make are for things that I actually use in most of my builds. So this is definitely one of those things. So anyway, so yeah, I got my wall in there. I always remove the mats if I don't remember to do that. Sometimes they're in dirt and I'll forget, and then they'll like be part of my budget gone. Basically, I snapped walls through that destroyed wall that you saw there. That destroyed wall was the abandoned mine set. It's a very awesome set. When you turn it into the horizontal, horizontal. Yeah, am I doing that right? Yeah. So when you turn that, like you see here, they actually go intangible, and then you can just snap things through it. But I'm working on getting the walls in for my build for the room. So notice I had to destroy all those roofs up there, like I talked about. I'm basically catwalking off of walls to get like now my bathroom in place. My bathroom is going to be quite narrow. Actually, this is my bedroom. I might have already done my bathroom, but anyways, either way, it's the same process. I'm basically just taking my walls and catwalking off of them, and then I'm getting other walls to line up with them, so that way all the walls are straight. With this, I'm also attempting to double wall it. So what I had to do here on this one, because it was being a real pain in the butt, was I put another wall in place over there, and then I catwalked off of it, and I was able to use a mat to be able to place that half wall, and then I was able to double wall it that way. It wouldn't let me do it any other way, so I was still able to get it in. You could have done the roofs last. I don't necessarily recommend doing that, because you're going to find that the walls then will get in the way of the roofs instead of the roofs getting in the way of the walls. My big mistake here was repairing them all, because then I just had to go back and destroy so many of them. But such is life. So over here, now I'm creating the wall for my bathroom. And what I'm doing is I'm catwalking off of this, and I'm doing kind of the same thing. I didn't talk about it a lot on the last one, so I'm going to go over this part in detail. It's the exact same process. I'm putting mats down, so that way I can put the walls into place, and they should snap. And this is a great example of a wall that won't go in place necessarily, because the wall had just slightly different thickness. Notice that glass wall goes into place no problem. So I'm like testing it out right now. I'm like trying to, like, why didn't that wall go into place? I don't understand. I have my mats down. I know how this works. But it wasn't me. It was the wall itself. So you're going to see here in a minute. I'm struggling to get everything to go into place, but we've got... I went ahead and moved that wall. I'm going to catwalk off of that. I'm just going to try and flip it and reverse it and see if that goes in better for me. But watch, I'm going to get frustrated. Not really frustrated, but I'm just going to go through my steps. And look, I switched walls and it snapped in no problem. And that's when I was like, aha! So the Blue Ridge set is great for a lot of things, but that is not one of them. Got it. So now I need to double wall this. And I did the same thing before, so I'm just showing this in detail. I'm putting a mat down so that way I can actually snap a wall there. A mat is needed to break the connection between the wall and the floor, else it will not allow you to snap a wall to it like that unless it's actually snapping it to the foundation itself. Using that same logic, I'm turning this wall into the abandoned mine set, the horizontal one, and the reason being is I still need to put mats under this in order to snap in the walls, because they will not place unless the mats are there, because it's going to think that it's missing the connection with the foundation. So I put a mat there in a place that I think will break that connection, and then I'm going to catwalk off of this wall. So these walls can be finicky. There's all kinds of different ways to double wall. You probably have a good method as well, and I have several different methods, but this is why I keep them in my toolbox like this, so that way I don't have to struggle when in these situations. I have multiple options. But anyways, yeah, catwalk off the bottom there, and I was able to get that wall in where it should go, thankfully. And we're going to do it again, but first I have to destroy a wall there by turning it into the abandoned mine wall set again, and I'm just going to catwalk off of the top of these walls, and I use the same process over there. This is a little bit roomier, So that's why I didn't really go into detail with the bedroom version of this, but it's the exact same process. And yeah, there we go. So of course can't place that down, so I'm putting the mat. As you saw, it turned red. It wouldn't snap to anything. I'm putting 2 down just so that way I don't have to worry about it and waste my time. This time the Blue Ridge set snapped in there, no problem. And I'm going to take that catwalk away. I'm going to leave those mats there this time. But this time it won't let me do it from the ground, and that's because the foundation was in the way. So what I end up doing here is, this is kind of like desperate times, desperate measures. It's not a bad thing to do this, just as long as you can get your foundation in place again. But I knew at this point I could just remove my foundation, and I took kind of the easy way out. And then I just snap the catwalk in. Again, the foundations can be a little iffy. So once I remove that wall, I can snap the floors back in. And now the entire inside is walled up. But I'm going to show you some bonus footage here of me putting in my bathroom. Because this is a very narrow bathroom, I had to do a lot of built-in work, but fortunately for me, the other side of the wall is basically vacant space that nobody will ever see, so I could have things like counters and stuff sticking out of there. But first I destroyed the tub, I put down floor mats. I do this a lot in my builds with the curtains, and the reason for that, with the curtains in the tub, it actually looks good. It's not because I'm like, bitching out of my want to do custom work every time. But I mean, I just really, really like the way that looks. And I do change up my bathroom sometimes. But man, just that bathtub with those curtains, it's super easy to do. You just have to destroy the bathtub, or otherwise the curtains won't get close enough to it. But there we go. Repaired that. And yeah, that's a good look. And you'll see it in a second. Other thing that I do all the time is these double sinks. And why would you sit here and merge these sinks in? Because whenever you try and merge one sink into counters, you always see the bottom or the top of the counter showing through the sink. But when you double merge the sink, you only see the white porcelain, air quotes, porcelain part of the counter. See? So now we're going to put this into place. I like the way this looks a lot. The only thing that, looks a little weird about it is the 4 things, but I could sell that if I were selling a house. Like, look at this sink. It has hot, cold, tepid, and like kind of hot or something. So I could say it has 4 water temperatures. But anyways, see what I did here? Because again, I'm using those abandoned mine walls. I haven't changed them out yet. I was just able to snap my countertops through them. And now I have a custom look bathroom. I still have room to walk around, and it still looks pretty good. And anyways, this is how the whole thing turned out. It was hard to film this camp because obviously you'd only see it from like the front side and the rooms. The top is just grass and stuff, but I thought it came out really cool. I hope that you liked it. If anything, if you don't build here or try camouflage, maybe you learned something from the video itself. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this today. Really appreciate you. Appreciate your support. Thank you all. Be safe. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye now.